Okay, so on this episode, we're going to show you what we do for final assembly. What we've got here is this is a gen that's going out, getting ready for a customer who's, boy, she's been patiently waiting for it. And so we're going to put a polish on it, and then we're going to show you how I do the electronics and get it all set up. Basically, just real quickly, what a gen model is, it's a semi-hollow body. Basically, just here's what it starts out. We put a nice top on it. When we cut that shock hole, you may have seen this model. This is the Letty. It's got the shock hole there, the little sound hole, and that's a pretty signature model for us here at Dudecraft Guitars. The Gen model is basically the exact same guitar without the shock hole. It's pretty simple. And what this particular one has a fabric top on it. And if you want to see a really good demo how to do that, we'll have a demo for you coming up. But if you're really anticipating it and you go to YouTube University like me, check out Matt, Chris, the guys over there at Texas Toast Guitars. They've got a great little demo on how they do their wraps, and pretty much I do the same process. I mean, there may be a couple of the products are a little different, but other than that, it's the same process. I learned a lot just from watching those guys myself. So let me show you what we do, how we're going to polish this thing up, get it ready, and then we'll also show you how we do the electronics and everything else and make a guitar out of it. Now, if you're like me, maybe you're just making your guitar for yourself, you're working on a kit, that's fine. But one thing that I like to do is I can't help but multitask. So I may be working on a finish for a guitar while I've got another one that I'm cutting. I may be doing a bunch of different things all at once. It helps to organize. What I found is really helpful is these little boxes here. Now we get these, they come with free lunch meat. All you gotta do is buy the plastic box, eat the lunch meat, you got this nice little box. This is for the Gen model that you're seeing me work on, and everything I need to finish that out is in there. We've got the pickups, we've got the pots, you know, even the cover plate. So everything is nice, neat, and tidy, and I'll have another box for another guitar. So I keep them all separate. Sometimes I put the lid on and actually put a name on it so I know which one it is. Just a little thought for you. Now we're going to start at the finish. What we're going to do is we're going to finish the finish. What we're going to do is polish the finish of the finish. Does that make sense? Anyway, so we're going to start with some papers, and a lot of guys like to do it dry. Some guys like to do it wet still. I'm still a little bit of both. So I'm going to show you a little bit of both, and I'm going to show you some really neat things that we do with the papers. So first of all, you're going to get your papers. They're going to come in big fat sheets, hopefully, or long sheets. I like to cut them in little spots like that. Reason being, because I like to use a small block. The reason why I like using a small block is I can get in there a lot better than if I used a big block. So the other thing is a lot of guys will go immediately, they'll go to like a 400 or 600 grit, and just to get a lot of the knobs. Now I did a little bit of spray and a little bit of wipe on both with this just to get a little different coverage. I'll show you some of those details later, but the main thing with this one is I like to try starting off a little higher than most people. And here's another little tip. When you do cut those papers, make sure that you don't cut the numbers. If you do, real simply, just take your ballpoint pen. He says as he's writing on his guitar body, and just write that so you get it. Now, what I like to do with the small block, here's the reason why. It's because you put the little small block on there, you got the small paper, you put just enough for your thumb to hold here, wrap this around here. Now when that part gets dirty, you just rotate. When that part gets dirty or clogged, just rotate. Now when that part gets dirty or clogged, just rotate. Then you throw it in the water. Okay, does that make sense? And then you take it out of the water, you wipe it off, and you got to start it again. So let me just show you what I mean by this. So we're going to start with 1,000, and we're going to go and just get this thing. You see, I got a couple little spray knobs right there. Basically what that is, it's where the spray here and the spray there, or sometimes even the hand rub, they just kind of overlap and made a little bit of a hill there. So I'm just going to flatten that down. As you'll notice, if you follow more guys around on YouTube or anywhere else, any other type of video, or just go to a shop and ask a guy how he does it. If you follow a lot of guys, we all have one thing in common when it comes to shine, and we understand that you've got to flatten all the hills and dull out all the valleys before you can get a shine. It seems kind of weird. Here you got this nice shiny finish on here, and you've got to flatten it all out so you can polish it back up. But you got to remember, when we make guitars, we take these round trees, they cut them into these square rectangular objects, and then we take and we make them round again. So, you know, if any of this seems like a redundant, archaic process, welcome to the guitar building world. All right, so here we go. So now we've got, as you can see, it's starting to flatten out pretty good. Now, if you come across something that's just really a big bump, maybe you got a big knurl, something that just did not sit down right like it was supposed to, maybe your spray gun gave out a little spitball, then if you feel the need to, go to something a little bit heavier, and we're talking sandpaper, the lower number, the heavier the grit. So, and just hit that spot. Don't rub the whole guitar. When I first started doing this, I used to just kill myself, you know, rubbing everything down to a 400 and then try to take all those scratches out. It was really hard. So now you see I've got the paper a little bit flattened there. A lot of guys, that's when they dip it in the water. Not me. I'll move along and I'll just keep it dry. You don't need to use water all the time. And if you got thumbs that are worth gripping, then you won't even slip your paper like I do. So there we go. So you just do this until basically until your arm falls off, and then switch over to your other arm. Now I'm lifting up so you guys can see it. Obviously, if I was just doing this without a camera on, then I would just be like this. And I hope you can see that. I'm pretty sure you can. I've got a really good camera guy over here. He's really good. Everybody say hi to Joshua. Hi, Joshua. So, if I was doing wood grain, you see I'm doing straight strokes. That's because I'm just out of habit of doing wood grain. If you're doing wood grain, you definitely want to go with the straight strokes along with the wood grain. Some folks say that way you don't have scratch marks. Well, you're going to get scratch marks. The idea is to make the scratch marks not as noticeable. So that's why we go along with the wood grain. With this little paisley, this fabric type thing, I could be doing all kinds of swirls if I wanted to. And if I was really, I can make it just the same shape as the paisleys, but no. It's just out of habit. I do straight, and it works for me. You know, find what works for you. As I like to say, embrace your artwork. Everybody's got a little bit of different detail, but that's basically what we're going to do. And we're going to keep doing it, work our way up. I think I got it pretty flattened out enough with the 1000. I know a lot of guys will keep going until it's totally dull, and you can too. But what I like to do is kind of see what I can do on the next level. Because sometimes your next grit will take it to the next level for you. And that way you're not chasing as many of those heavier grit. You know, you get those heavier grit things that we're chasing constantly. Really what we're doing here by finishing the finish is we're basically scratching the scratches out. So when you scratch the scratches in at a higher grit, that's more work you got to do to scratch them back out. And again, when I say higher grit, I mean lower number. I didn't invent this stuff. All right, so there we got that one. See, the paper's getting a little full. And I know there's guys that tell you that if you get your expensive papers made in Switzerland that cost $1,000 a sheet, then you wouldn't have to clean them out as much, and that's probably true. But I like good old-fashioned 3M. There's some papers that are made in Canada that I like as well. They're pretty fun. You know, there's a lot of good papers. One thing you do want to make sure of, well, when you cut it out, you can't see, but you can't see on these papers, but you want to look for a P rating. Basically, most of your finished paper is going to have a P rating, where a lot of your shaping and papers, like the stuff that we work on the raw wood, as I'll show you in some other videos, that stuff we don't need to have a P rating necessarily. But for finishes, it really does make a difference. So you can tell your spouse later on that you heard me say it here first. Use P paper. But the stuff that I've learned along the way, I used to just keep scrubbing with that really heavy grit paper, the one with the low number. Anyway, and just to get it dull, because that's what I heard was the way to do it. And again, try it out for yourself, see if you like it. I don't, because the last thing you want to do is what I call sand throughs, or burn throughs, or worst part, redos. So just take it easy on yourself. Even if it means more strokes like this, that's okay. Especially if you got a guitar like this that you're selling to somebody, guess what? People pay for gym memberships to get that exercise, and you're getting paid for it, so quit whining. All right, so here we go. We got 1500 looks like it's dulling out pretty well, and I've still got, nope, I don't have a gray. So throw it in the water. The water's off camera, and that's fine. I think you've seen water before. Now in that water, I have just a little bit of soap, and what I'll do, let me show it to you. So what I'll do is I'll pull that out. Now see, that's the 1000. Remember how white that was with dust? I'll pull it out. I've got my towel here. I'll wipe it down on the towel. Squeeze it with my fingers. Really helps your manicure. And boom, it's ready to go again. So now I just put the 1500 in there, and while I'm doing the 2000, voila. Okay,